If you want to be strong, to be healthy, you have to eat meat. That's not right, it's not like that. Protein deficiency is very rare. Meat is not the main food. Hello and welcome back to Health Relaxing Tube. Is meat healthy? Part 2. What is protein? Why did they choose this word at all? And what does it mean? Proteins were first discovered by the Dutch chemist Gerardus Johannes Mulder and named in 1839. The name protein comes from the Greek word proteos, meaning something very important, or primary. Why is it called protein? Because protein was considered to be the most important nutrient. This is about 1839, and so far about 6 generations have passed. If our behaviors persist for more than 2 generations, they are passed on to us through genes, into our genomes, and into the next generation. It has been institutionalized in our brain for more than 6 generations now, that if you want to be strong, healthy, you have to eat meat. That's not right. It's not like that. Professor Campbell, the hypothesis that meat is a staple food has, more than ever, damaged our overall understanding of the ability of nutrition to promote health and prevent disease. Similarities and differences between animal and plant proteins. There is always talk of where to get protein if we do not eat animal protein. The Theory of Complete Protein and Incomplete Protein, by Ms. Frances Moore Lappé, in 1971, in the famous book, Diet for a Small Planet, proposed the theory of incomplete protein. And 10 years later, in 1981, in subsequent editions of her famous book, she officially retracted her words and declared that she was completely wrong. This theory initially led everyone to believe that vegetarianism does not provide us with protein. Or, if there is protein in the plant, it is vegetable protein. And it is not complete. If you want complete protein, you should eat meat. This misconception has been around since 1971. But 10 years later, she officially said in the scientific community that this was not the case, and I was completely wrong. But that remains in the belief of the people. And there are still many people who believe that, if they do not eat meat, they will not receive a series of proteins. Even though they find that many animals consume only one type of plant food throughout their lives, and not only do they not get any disease, but they get all the protein and essentials needed with just one plant. What does a protein series mean? We do not have such a thing in biochemistry. I explain here. What is protein made of? Amino acids. We have more than 200 types of amino acids, only 20 are protogenic. There are only 20 types of amino acids that are involved in the protein structure of the body. Of these 20, 11 are made by the body itself, and 9 of these amino acids cannot be made by the body. We must necessarily get them into the body through food, which are called essential amino acids. From 9 amino acids, 6 they are abundant in plant and animal products, and there are only 3 less, which are called limited amino acids. Methionine, lysine, tryptophan. Cereals and grains are rich sources of protein, but not all 20 amino acids are present in whole grains. For example, lysine is low in cereals, but methionine is high. Beans are low in methionine and high in lysine. But the lysine in legumes is not chemically different from the lysine in beef. Not even one atom moves, they are exactly the same. Or, methionine in cereals is no different from methionine in, for example, eggs. Their chemical structure is exactly the same, and no different. Some people say that meat is a complete protein, and plant is not a complete protein, because it is all the amino acids together, is dispersed in plants and has 1 or 2 less. But as you know, a vegetarian does not just eat one plant. He uses all kinds of nutrients in his diet. However, the important thing to know is that the body stores amino acids or proteins in itself. Proteins are not as unstable as vitamins. For example, if we boil beans even for a very, very long time, their protein will never be lost. Proteins are stored in the body, and the body uses its storage resources whenever it needs them. So we do not need to combine cereals and legumes to get all the amino acids, because the body stores the required amount each time, for each time it needs to be used. A varied diet is sufficient. Famous Dr. Alan Goldhamer says, as long as the body's calories are supplied, it is impossible for a human being to be deficient in protein. Protein deficiency is very rare, and is more common in carnivores than in vegetarians. Or, for example, they say that if you do not eat meat, you will be deficient in vitamin B12. While all the statistics showed that carnivores are deficient in B12, and not vegetarians. Let me explain to you, in the process of protein production. When our body wants to make protein from amino acids, this process is called proteinogenesis. When we eat plants and fruits, grains, legumes, vegetables, or anything else, the body takes in the amino acids, and the process of proteinogenesis begins. But when we eat meat, the body does not recognize the meat, because it used to be a vegetable or a grass or some other raw material. When eaten by an animal, natural amino acids are enters into the animal's body, and proteinogenesis begin, then animal tissue is produced. Now, when we eat meat, because the body does not know the meat, it must undergo deproteinogenesis. It first takes the meat and decomposes it into the primary amino acids, and then reabsorbs it, and makes it protein. This means excessive pressure on the body. Dr. Alan Goldhamer says, the protein recovery cycle from the damaged intestinal cells and the enzymes used, causes more than 200 grams of protein made in the digestive tract, to be added to every 100 grams of protein in the diet. To better understand this, you can read the article, Where Do You Get Your Protein? By Dr. Alan Goldhamer. They did an interesting test. They gave one group of people only rice for 40 days, one group only potatoes, one group only corn, and another group only wheat bread. At the end of 40 days all natural amino acids were produced in their bodies. Everything has protein, for example, tomatoes have 1% protein and 11% of the calories come from the same 1% protein. In fact, everything we eat, whether plant or animal, provides protein to the body. Why do we need to eat meat? How much protein does the human body need? A great deal of research has been done on the chemical composition of human milk, and the result in here. You know that the milk composition of all mammals is different. Human milk on average from the first days of baby born, which we call colostrum, it is fatter, has all the necessary vaccines and medicines for the child. This milk changes to about 21 days later, and reaches another state. From this day on, it remains almost in a constant state. On average, breast milk is 88% water, 4% fat, 7% carbohydrate, and only 1% protein. And this is exactly the combination that is found in plants, vegetables and fruits. The human baby grows rapidly after birth, and never grows at that speed in a lifetime. So that week by week, growth and change can be seen in the baby. The baby needs the highest amount of protein at that time, while breast milk has only 1% protein. This 1% protein provides 6% of daily energy. Professor Campbell says, humans should eat a diet that provides only 5% to 6% of their daily energy through protein. Now we know what foods have 1% protein: fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, plants. That's right. We eat mutton, that has 16% protein. What to do with a lot of protein? With it we get cholesterol into the body, cancer, cardiovascular problems, and we get immune system diseases. We get a lot of protein into the body, while protein deficiency never happens. Professor Campbell's comments on milk and dairy. It can be said that cow's milk proteins are the most important carcinogens that humans have ever been exposed to. Here are more details about dairy and milk. Whenever food enters our body, that substance causes the body to become acidic, and the body immediately normalizes itself. The main substance that the body uses to bring acidic conditions back to normal immediately is calcium. The body takes calcium from the blood first, and because the volume of calcium in the blood is low, it takes it from the bones. When we eat something like animal products, especially meat, the body becomes highly acidic. and the body needs to take in a lot of calcium and inject it into the bloodstream to normalize its pH. Now I know you have a question. Doesn't milk itself have calcium? Yes, milk is full of calcium. But the problem is that when we drink milk and dairy, after entering the stomach, the body immediately becomes acidic. But calcium is not immediately available to the body. If we eat on an empty stomach, and our digestive system is perfectly healthy and strong, it still takes about 40 minutes for the body to extract and absorb calcium from milk. So calcium is not absorbed, but the body becomes highly acidic. When the body becomes acidic, the parathyroid secretes PTH, parathyroid hormone, and its main target is osteoclast cells from the bones. Osteoclast cells dig into bone tissue and send calcium into the bloodstream. It does this immediately, and a lot of calcium is removed from the body, so that we can survive. Remember that almost all organs of the body have a general duty to save our lives and our survival. If we look at nature, there is no animal that sucks again after infancy, especially the milk of another animal, except for humans. Milk digesting enzymes are only in the first 2 years. Researchers at Yale University have compiled a report on osteoporosis from 34 separate statistical studies, in 16 countries, published in 29 scientific journals. This study showed that 70% of bone fractures are associated with animal protein intake. This is because animal protein is acidic, and the body tends to be alkaline, and it quickly neutralizes the acidic state. In this process, the body takes in the calcium from the blood, and often removes it from the bones because there is not enough calcium in the blood. The bones become thinner and weaker, which causes the bones to break. When animal protein intake increases from 35 grams to 78 grams per day, the rate of calcium loss through the kidneys increases by 53%. This condition not only leads to osteoporosis, but also to kidney stones. Vegetarianism has more moral and human aspects, is not just a change in nutrition, it is a change in our existential energies, it is a spiritual change. How meat, which is the result of slaughter, can affect the human mind and psyche, and change human behavior. There has been a lot of research in prisons, which has changed the behavior and level of violence by more than 40% by changing the diet of prisoners to vegetarians, even prisoners who have committed murders, rapes and grand thefts. Also in schools, this method incredibly changed students from immoral acts to a tendency towards kindness and friendship. When we eat meat, animal steroids enter our body. In fact, the final product in the body is testosterone. Testosterone is a sex hormone in men and of course in women, that plays a key role in regulating other hormones. When testosterone rises, the violence increases. On the other hand, serotonin, which is the hormone of happiness, dopamine, hormone of pleasure, and melatonin, hormone of relaxation, are reduced. Man becomes more nervous and aggressive every moment. It's a physiological explanation, which is seen in all those who have committed the greatest crimes whenever the hormones serotonin, dopamine, and melatonin decrease and testosterone rises. There are many other aspects to why humans become wild after eating other body tissues. Questions is whether beans also acidify the body? I will explain about it here. Not all tissues in our body are alkaline. It is true that the pH of human blood is approximately 7.4 or 7.365, which means it is slightly alkaline. And so are most of our tissues for that reason, but not all tissues are necessarily alkaline. When you eat protein, whether animal or plant, stomach pH can drop as low as 2. But for grains or cereals, it does not need to reach 2. But it is often for meat. When we eat beans, the stomach becomes acidic, because it must be acidic for the digestion process, but the pH does not reach 2. pH of the body is at 7 when it is neutral, and when it is low, it comes down logarithmically, meaning that each unit that goes down becomes 10 times more acidic. When it comes from 6 to 5, it means a unit of 10 multiplied by 10 acidified, means 100. Now from 7 when it reaches 2, that is 5 units are reduced, which can be multiplied 5 times, which can be 100,000 times more acidified, until the meat is digested. So grains and cereals also acidify the stomach but never reach the level of meat. Also the pH of hair and skin is 4.5 to 5, it is ideal for hair and skin, and if it becomes alkaline, the hair will fall out, and the skin will be damaged. Many parts also have pH fluctuations, and go up and down, and so it should be. But if we look at the human body in general, the environment of the body's tissues is not naturally acidic. And blood that is definitely and distinctly alkaline. Thank you for being with me. If the content of this video was useful, please consider to like and subscribe. Happy food, happy body.